Hello, everyone. It's been a bit of a break, but I had a couple videos talking about how I was really excited for Xenoblade X DE, and I finished it. Nearly 100%. There's a couple of, like, farming things I still want to do. But yeah, just wanted to give my thoughts, because maybe there was an assumption that I would do like a full playthrough on this channel, but I literally I finished my Xenoblade X original playthrough last year on this channel, so I was like, maybe I don't need to do another one. So, I'll just talk about how I feel about it. Didn't even realize that's how the cross looks in the official. But yeah, the Xenoblade X base game that goes from chapter 1 to chapter 12 that was on the Wii U is just pretty much objectively better in every way. The gameplay is faster thanks to a quick cooldown action, which is great. Very good add. Crafting and things is easier. They reduce the amount of materials you need. Thank goodness, because you could kill 87,000 of the same enemy and still not get a drop. So I'm glad they reduced that. And yeah, the voice mix, the audio mixing, significantly improved. It seems they learned their lesson from Xenoblade 3, because the audio mixing in 1 and 2 were also not good still, but in Xenoblade 3 they kind of fixed it, and they kept to that in X. So now, whenever Elma's talking about some really cool exposition, she is not cut off by ridiculously loud background music. So that's good. Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan. I mean, okay, Xenoblade X was fighting for me for, like, my favorite game of all time. Xenoblade 2, and The Witcher 3 are kind of, like, all trying to take that position. And then, like, Skyrim's kind of close behind that. I know, a lot of people are like, Skyrim? Is your taste in games bad? But whatever. It's the case. Let me reduce my mic's gain a little bit. It seems to be going into the red. I don't think it's peaking, but, I gotta be sure. Anyways, yeah, so the base game is awesome in every way. If you've never played X before, and you want to play it, you might as well play it this way, because the stuff that was in the game already is still in the game, and it's better than ever. They didn't really add anything to the base game. Other than Lise, I think that's her, Liesel? Yeah, Liesel. She's the Skell pilot with the spooky mask that was in one of these trailers. And I could swap trailers and stuff. I don't mind scrolling YouTube while I'm talking about this. But, yeah, she'll pop up here, I'm sure. I could probably scroll to when it happens, right? Yeah. She is Liesel. Which, she also comes with the Hreisfelg. This is stuff that happens before the new content, which, I mean, technically, this is new content. Actually, hang on. I wonder about this, right? I've been flying around in the Hreisfelg for a while now, and it does not turn into a jet plane. So I wonder if this was axed, or there's something I'm missing that I'm not doing when I'm piloting this thing. But either way, Skell's really cool. Character's okay. They added another new character who's awesome, named Neil Nail. She's another person from the race that Celica is from. I don't know. Maybe it'll show it, maybe it won't. I'm gonna stop scrubbing and I'll just let it play in the background. But yeah, they added 2 new characters. They're both cool. I think, like I said, Liesel's kind of lame, but she's got the scale, which makes her cool, and Neil's just kind of good. With the 2 new characters, hell, 4 new characters, technically, comes new arts you can use as Cross as well. So there's a couple more builds and customization things that are fun. I guess technically, there's gonna be spoilers in this video, so just telling you right now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then you should probably leave. But there is another character that joins you in the base game that usually doesn't, and that is Gajarg. After you finish like chapter 10, I believe, and you make friends with the Rothians, Gajarg will join your party this time, which I know in original Xenoblade X, that was everyone's biggest complaint. They're like, why can I not use Gajarg? He's literally, he's joined me, he's cool, he, like, I don't understand, like, why can't he be in my party? Like, I don't know. Oh wait, was Al Xenoblade here? Or was it just the back of his head? Yeah, it's just the back of his head. This freaking guy. Yeah. So, now on to the things that maybe I didn't like very much. See this area right here? This area blows. I was hoping and praying when I saw this new area and this trailer. I was like, they're gonna add a new continent to X. It's gonna be so cool. Maybe it'll be like south of NLA and it'll open up post game, because I don't know, we just couldn't detect it or something, and I didn't really need a great reason. And unfortunately, what we got was kind of like a relatively small area that you could only get around by flying your Skell, with basically the same 4 ganglion enemy types. And yeah, was kind of lame. However, I will say, one thing that was okay was you get to talk to all of the party members that you've recruited up to that point in this new area. And while you're there, they get a little bit of character development. That's nice. You get to learn a little bit more about the final boss as well when you interact with these big towers that lift from the ground, and turns out they're spears and they stab into the final boss. You know, some of the story stuff's okay, but the gameplay of that zone is just horrible. One thing that was nice, actually, was you get unlimited Skell fuel. However, one thing that isn't nice is even if you have a completed save data game or whatever, you can't go back there unless you do this last story mission again. So that blows. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but there's a character that they add named Al Bernholt. Very cool guy. Honestly, the way he was written, the way that he's like voice acted, like just his scraggy like look, I don't know, and the stupid "how's it poppin" phrase. It was good. It was the best part of chapter 13 for sure. Easily, Al was the best part. We love Al. One thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way is and pretty much, as far as I'm aware, pretty much anyone who's played the original Xenoblade X and then played chapter 13 can like notice that this is not what they had planned for X2, if there was ever going to be an X2. But yeah, they seemingly retconned a few of the ideas that they were going for. Now, like, you can go back and forth on are things retcons or were characters in universe just wrong about things? And sure, characters in... If it didn't technically happen yet, it wasn't really a retcon, because... Oh yeah, there's Nil Nail. See, I knew she was in this trailer. Because technically, you'd be right. Nothing happened yet. But, like... I don't know, man. It's just... It felt pretty bad. Like, while I was going through Chapter 13, I will say one thing that was kind of refreshing was that I think there is more dialogue and character writing and just plot in Chapter 13 alone than there is in the entire rest of the story missions in the entire game. Which some people might say, oh, the rest of the game must be kind of boring then. No. It's not what X is about. X is a fantastic game, but it's a gameplay first kind of game. It's not really a plot first type of game. And that's not to say the writing is bad. Actually, I would say the writing in X is very good. It's just, there's not a lot of it, and there's a lot of cliffhangers and awkward scenes where it's like, well, what's happening? And everyone who played the first game was kinda waiting on X2, or I guess in this case, Chapter 13 of XDE, to kind of come in and tell you what's going on. And some of the stuff was alright. Like, Elma being another descendant of Sumerians, who was destroyed by the ghosts because they came in, like, to possession of the Ares Prime, which, once again, the Ares Prime new thing, it was obviously a retcon that this Ares Prime even existed, but some of the stuff they wrote for it was fine. The only thing that rubbed me the wrong way was Elma and Al were supposed to be driving the Ares 90, which is the Ares that Elma had, that Lao stole, and that was supposed to be a tandem scale that they used to defend the city. There wasn't supposed to be an Ares Prime. Or maybe it wasn't supposed to be the Ares 90, maybe it's supposed to be the Ares 40, because maybe it was white in the cutscene and not black. But you understand, like, where I'm coming from, right? Elma and Al were supposed to have saved the city together, and then Al sacrificed himself and saved Elma, and yeah. We didn't know it was Al at first. I, along with many others, I'm sure, thought that Cross was probably this person, but we just didn't know yet. Because no one told us. Now, it would be reasonable to assume, like, someone probably would have told Cross at some point that he was the hero if he was the hero. So, Cross probably wasn't the hero. It's like, fine, fair enough. You know, I'll accept that explanation. But nonetheless, I didn't mind Al being the hero. It's just... some of the retcon stuff was for me. Like, the thing at the end where Elma's like, what is this about the planet? How come our minds are still in our mimeosomes? Even though the data storage with our minds is destroyed. There's something about this planet, then everyone assumes that Mira is like a simulation, it's something special. You know, there's something weird about it. And there's not. There's not. Mira's just a planet. Just a regular planet. There's nothing special about it. It's not magic. It doesn't make any sense at all why the Manon showed up, by the way, if this planet isn't magic. It doesn't make sense. They were like, oh, we were running from the Ganglion because they wanted to conscript us into their war. Also, the Ganglion was supposed to be a small part of a large federation in space. Like the Ganglion was a mafia, essentially, like a gang, you know, such is the name, that was a part of a larger galactic federation. And even though nothing directly says that isn't true in chapter 13, it just doesn't seem feasible, because it turns out that the Ganglion were created by the final boss, Void, who is a Samarian, by the way, so it doesn't really make sense why they're afraid of the descendants of Samar, because they say that the Samarians have a failsafe in their DNA that could kill the Ganglion at a moment's notice if they ever turn against them. That's why the Ganglion hate the humans and they're afraid of them. However, Void is a Samarian, so reasonably, Luxar's Great One could have killed the entirety of the Ganglion at any time, whenever he wanted. And Luxar should have hated him just as much, if not more, than anyone else. Because Void would have known this, and humans didn't. We were just vibing on a planet. So it makes absolutely no sense why they would come and destroy us. Given that, given the previous explanation, given the new explanation, it makes sense, because Void is like, oh, I want to know death, I hate the descendants of Samar because they locked me away, yada yada. Sure. But yeah, so many like different races and stuff, and including the Ganglion, got trapped on Mira and couldn't leave because of special like anomalous forces. We never learn what those are because they get retconned. Like, Mira was supposed to do something, it was supposed to be special, but the devs blew it up. The game that you spent 100 hours, more than 100 hours, trying to collect everything on, like, trying to 100%, trying to build up your city, and you do, over the course of the game, you collect all these alien races, like, you build the water production plant, like the man on ship comes into town, like all these like cool things happen, and it essentially amounts to nothing, because at the end of the game, Void comes to Mira and just explodes it. And I gotta say, I understand the Manon being the only ones present in the post-game stuff as far as Xenos are concerned, because you could have not grabbed the other Xenos, like the bug guys whose names I'm forgetting, and the Zorubagan, and the Definians and stuff. Like, you could have not recruited them, but you probably did, so it would really not make a lot of sense for them to not be included, especially Professor B. Professor B is a character who specifically is from far in the future. He makes a time machine, he gets stranded on Mira. Because Mira has some sort of special force that surrounds it. Some sort of like anomalous, like magnetic effect. So he's traveling through time in his time machine and gets stuck on Mira, and Mira will not let him leave. He cannot use his time machine so long as he's on Mira. This doesn't make any sense if Mira's just a regular planet. And it's one of those things where it's like, haha, joke's on you. This it's just a planet, and we're just gonna blow it up, and just cause, man. Like, yeah. Anyway, and then so much actually doesn't like winds up not making sense now. Okay, so so there's a bunch of races in the Ganglion, right? a large part, more or less, of the ganglion get trapped on Mira with us. That sort of makes sense. So you could forgive the races that are already a part of the ganglion for being there. Because when the Ares is fighting the ganglion at the beginning of the game, Al unknowingly opens up a rift in the universe and teleports us and the ganglion to a new universe. So just the part of the ganglion that was teleported and us being stuck on Mira because of that makes enough sense, sure. However, the Manon being chased through space by the ganglion, getting stranded on Mira, doesn't make any sense. Because presumably, the Manon aren't from the same universe as Mira anymore. They're from the last universe that we just escaped. Right? So that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, also the Rothian homeworld that like Gajarg was worried so much about, how he was like, oh yeah, I fight for a people that are far, far away, and we were subjugated by the ganglion stuff. That planet's gone now. We jumped universes, it's gone. Manon homeworld, it's gone. Did the universe get destroyed or just the planet? I don't know, but the ghosts were gonna keep attacking us and people until the Ares and Void were gone. Well, we still have the Ares in the new universe, so chances are the ghosts are going to attack us again in the next game. But yeah, I don't know. The mirror was its own universe. The Earth we came from was its own universe. Presumably, all the ganglion and their races came from the same universe as our Earth, same as Elma and her people. But the Manon had to have come from the universe that Mira was on, which makes sense. Just there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense. It's just, I don't know, man. I'm not pleased with the way they answered a lot of the questions. Once again, I'll say a lot of the character writing in Chapter 13 was very good. Some of the characters got more development in Chapter 13 than they did for the rest of the game. Elma kind of took a backseat from being the main character, so Al could be the main character in this chapter, but I think that's fine considering the context of which he's introduced. I like Al, but I don't know. I think if you're a player who's never played the game and you go into Chapter 13 from Chapter 12, you can just be like, oh yeah, everyone was just wrong about everything until now. And this is like what really happened. And like it would kind of make sense to you. But I feel like the perspective of being someone who's been sitting on this stuff for 10 years and then the answers you get are, all right, well, we're just going to phone it in the last chapter. We're just going to make it up so that we can connect this game to Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3. And the man on ship will be the thing that lands on the Earth at the end of the game. And don't worry, we still have the biofluid chamber or whatever, so we could just recreate all of the alien races that we essentially genocided by destroying a universe and fleeing it or something like that. Like, oh man, I don't know. Also, not to mention, this isn't the biggest plot hole of all time, but look at the size of NLA, right? And look at the size of the white whale, which is 4 NLAs, basically. And Elma talks about how they needed that big of a ship to hold 20 million consciousnesses of people, and enough biofluid and stuff, and the machinery to revive everyone. At the end of the game, you escape on the Manon ship, which is probably one 1/8 of one NLA, which is 1/4 of a white whale. So, what? What do you mean we evacuated everyone onto the man-on ship? I've been on the man-on ship, it's not that big. Just the NPCs walking around the commercial district once you, like, recruit all the bug people, and the prone, and the man-on, and the Zarubagan. Just those people walking around the commercial district wouldn't fit in the man-on ship. So I completely bamboozled, mind-boggled. Yeah, I don't know. Future Redeemed, this is not. The writing in Future Redeemed was peak. It tied Xenoblade 1 and 2 together in a really tasteful, really cool way. Also, the gameplay was really fun, and we got the shitty flying Skell Zone with the spears in this one, so. Yeah, I don't know. It was kinda dookie, I think. But the rest of Xenoblade X, still peak, still fantastic. The improvements they made were awesome. I'm on a positive note. I wanted them to connect this game to Xenoblade 1 and 2. I wish they had done it in a cleaner way, in a more satisfying way, but in a way that didn't have 800,000 plot holes, and also destroy Mira, which is probably my favorite open world in gaming, and like developing it was like the whole reason I played the game, so blowing it up was kind of just like a spit in the face kind of moment, for me at least. But I did want them to connect the titles, because I want the rest of the series being at least vaguely connected. Like, it doesn't have to be one for one, but them being able to pull ideas from any of these games now is just a good thing for the quality of games moving forward. There being Xenoforms is a good thing. I know there's a lot of, like, Xenogears people that were like, there's specifically not any Xenoforms in Xenogears, so this is bullshit. That, like, X would be canon to all this stuff. But I might be thinking of Xenosaga, by the way. I haven't played either of them, so the only thing I've heard about them is through people complaining. I've only played the Blade games. But yeah. This is a way for them to introduce aliens into that continuity, which is fine. I'm fine with that. However, we don't have a lot of them. I don't see how L could repopulate his entire race after we essentially destroyed his home and all of his people were killed. Also, what's up with the Napon? How are they everywhere at once? What's the continuity of that? I know the answer. The answer is they're the mascots, they're funny, so they just exist because they exist. There's not going to be an insane lore reason. There might be, but they didn't consider that when adding Tatsu in. Tatsu, on the other hand, referencing Xenoblade 1 stuff, is a little more sus. I'm not entirely sure what's up with that, but whatever. We didn't figure that out. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the thing about the collective unconscious as well. Essentially, there's a gateway to heaven, as Al puts it, that holds the collective unconscious of all living things in the universe, in all universes, and it's where, when someone thinks about you, the thoughts of you are held there, and that is what coalesces in what is considered to be a soul. And for some reason or another, Mira was closer to that collective unconscious, so it allowed the MIMs to essentially drink from that data and keep the souls of the people inside of them. However, with that in mind, I'm pretty sure that means that everyone who was in a MIM is dead for sure. Is like for real now, because you're not gonna collective unconscious souls back into human bodies out of 20 million people. So actually, isn't that whole plan screwed now, right? Because they can make human bodies for the people that died because they have the genetic information, but they don't have any of the like personality stored in the databases. And as far as I'm aware, they have no way to channel the collective unconscious back into the bodies. So actually, isn't the entire like plan of bringing all the humans back and or anything on Mira like completely fucked? Do they just have to make babies and start from scratch? Maybe. I didn't really think about that, but it seems likely that that's the case. We'll see what they do with the next game. Like I said, I liked Al. I liked some of the story writing, at least in the epilogue. But overall, I think the epilogue was kind of dookie. The rest of the game, peak as it was before, but it's even better now. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's all my thoughts. If you disagree or want to talk to me about plot details and stuff in the comments, please do so, because if there's stuff I'm misunderstanding or not realizing, then I would love to talk about it. Oh yeah, also, might as well bring this up. There was a conduit mention, except instead of the green one, it was a purple one. So, Mithra and Malos reference? I don't know. Will there be a red conduit that lies in another universe? I don't know, maybe. Would make sense. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully you could handle my ranting and rumbling. And sorry for the long pause in between videos, but you know, hopefully next time it will not take as long. Yeah, see you all next time. Bye.